Lisa Feeley here, coming from our Carolina Catholic Radio and Accountable Catholic. And I have a wonderful guest joining me tonight, and we're so excited to have Barbara Arthur. And Barbara is coming to us here in South Carolina. I'll let her go into more details, but she is first and foremost a wonderful Christian mother, wife, and entrepreneur, as well as been a Christian speaker for 20 plus years, right, Barbara? I'm never going to get all the detail right. So would love for you to share your story and your journey with our listeners for a few minutes. Before then, we'll go into the topic of the different topics we're going to discuss today for our listeners.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate your time. As you mentioned, I'm Barbara Arthur. I am running for Congress in South Carolina, Congressional District 7, a seat currently held by Tom Rice. I am a Christian speaker for the past 24 years. My husband and I have a small business in Hartsville, South Carolina, his hometown. This is where we reside. And I've been a homeschool mom for 15 years. I've just graduated my youngest child. And I'm so glad to be with you this morning.
Thank you. And I understand you homeschooled some of your children.
Yes, ma'am, for 15 years.
That's fantastic. So you took a look at everything going on. You were ahead of the game, lady.
Well, actually, I felt a calling. I knew it was something I needed to do. And looking back, I am so glad that I obeyed and submitted to the call. It was difficult. It was not easy, but it was worth it. And both my kids, though they're American history, they both can write beautifully. It was a great experience.
Terrific. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that with everything going on, obviously, in our school system. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. Let's get right to the matter. Some people will say, oh my gosh, Lisa, there's so much about politics. Let's just forget all about that and, go on with our lives. But what I'm trying to explain to everyone, in my opinion, as a host of a radio show that's about accountability, right? is you can't be an accountable person in today's country without taking a stance on what we know to be true, right? Following God's truth. Truth is not supposed to be we're going to change at every turn of the wind, right? So what is going on in your opinion at our high level? What made you enter the race to run, to get involved in Congress? Tell us a little bit about the background, and that's Absolutely. Great. That would be great.
Yes, thank you, Lisa, for asking that question. I've never held political ambition, ever. I've never had any. This past January, I didn't even think I would be doing this. But when I saw what happened during the election in 2020, it really, 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 really bothered me greatly. And I'm sure it did a lot of people, but there's a specific reason. I'm going to get to that. And then what happened in January 6th, the way it was handled by the media, primarily. What I was noticing was communist political tactics. And I was born in Cuba, Lisa.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes, ma'am. I came in 1969. When my dad came legally, after a 3-year legal process, he was able to come over with 3 children. I was one of them. But my mother did not receive her visa. And she was forced to stay behind for 23 years. So my family was separated for 23 years.
Oh my gosh, Barbara.
It was horrible. My sister was 3 years old. I was 5. My brother was 8. My dad left behind 3 other children. And we were separated because of communism. Communism is evil. They call it, here in America now, there's the movement of socialism. Well, Castro came in as a socialist. And within no time, he was a full-blown communist with just a totalitarian grip on the nation, the country. And I see the same things here, and I was panicking. When I saw what was happening during the election and just the way it was handled, primarily I'm focusing on the way the media handled it. And on January 6th, the way the media handled it. I saw communist political tactics at play. I saw it being worked at, happening. So that just concerned me greatly. And I am a Christian and I know my Father's voice. And I just felt that tug in my heart that would not cease, into an extreme that only God can bring a human to that extreme. And so I was left with only one option, and that was to submit. And I did. It wasn't easy. I struggled in prayer and counseling and with other Christians. And I just knew it was something I needed to do because I love the nation.
That's fantastic. And boy, who wouldn't know, for someone who's lived under that rule of thumb, right, with your family. Yes, I have to hear before we end how your mom eventually hopefully came over to America, or how you guys were reunited. But But that's the whole point, is that people don't want to believe it, right? It's almost a lot like God. They don't want to believe it unless they see him. Well, you know what? You don't have to be Thomas to understand. We've got to understand what God is saying. And he's given us people like you, and hopefully a show like our Accountable Catholic show and others to raise these concerns to other Americans. So tell me in particular about some of your, I guess, key, if we could, I know there's probably dozens, but if you could pick key 3 messages that you would say to your constituents in not only South Carolina, but to all Christians in the Carolinas who are listening to this show.
Well, yeah, number 1 is communism is here. People need to wake up to the reality that our speech is being censored, our Pledge of Allegiance being taken out of school, this critical race theory, which is intended simply to divide and conquer, used by General Mao during the Chinese Revolution. It's here. And a lot of people see it, but do not want to really do anything about it, really. I just see an apathy there. And my job as I'm campaigning is I'm trying to wake up American-born citizens who love America, who love our flag, to get active. If I'm a homeschool mom, Christian speaker, who's never held any elected political office ever, or even thought of doing this, right. If I'm able to do what I'm doing, then certainly parents can go to schools and demand that the Pledge of Allegiance be brought back to their schools. Right. Certainly, or that CRT, that critical race theory that's being taught,
right.
which is
be eliminated. Yes.
Totally. We need to take a stand against that. And that is my message. My huge message is we all need to work. It's not just the person you sent to Congress right now. And honestly, I heard Mo Brooks from Alabama, and he said, he's a congressman from Alabama, and he says that the problem that we have in America today are the people that are in Congress and the people who put them there. So we must do our due diligence. We must know who we're putting in Congress right now. Right. And so again, it's not just who we sent to Congress to fight this evil, but every American citizen must get active, especially if you're a Christian, because one of the goals of communism is to get God out. We already allowed prayer to be taken out of school. Are we going to allow the left to push God out of our country? I mean, and that's the goal there. And
I'm going to say the extreme left, right? Because I really want to hope, and maybe this is just maybe I'm not right, and I would love your insight on this. But there are many people, even I think the majority of the country is probably kind of centered, right? We've got left extremists, we've got very, very far right extremists, and what we're saying is, look, that when I did research for my book, that 12% is really taking over our country. I mean, it's. And I will not mention specific names, but everybody who's following anything in politics knows who those senators are and those governors that are really extreme. Totally. How do we address that middle 85, right? 85% of us that really, and many of us, right, are Christians. We don't want this. We didn't know what was going on, but we're ordinary citizens. But like you said, you were an ordinary citizen. But how do we get over the fear of someone thinking, again, because that's all they want to do is, oh, you have to be woke and you're a racist and this and that if you don't do that. How have you overcome that? Because I am sure you've had to face your fair share of people yelling at you, right, Barbara?
Well, actually, I haven't yet, and I thank God.
Okay, all right. God's really putting on that Christian armor.
However, I will do whatever we need to do to stand up for our Christian belief, our Constitution. You know, I keep hearing the far left saying, democracy, democracy, democracy. We are a constitutional republic. The Constitution is the law of the land. And that is what we need to follow. And that's what we need to bring back to our land, totally. And realize that that is what made America, America. And primarily the Christian principles that we enjoy, really our freedoms that we enjoy based on the Constitution. And that middle group of people that you're referring to, we need to wake up. We need to get active, or we're going to lose our country. Everyone must pick up the battle right now. Everyone must get involved. Everyone. It just can't be the people you send to Washington.
Right.
It has.
What do you say to her? And I don't want to pick on them, but we know for a fact. I mean, again, I try to look at very factual. I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. I teach. I write books, and I look at this and I say, this younger generation, for the most part, because I think many of us, and I wish I looked back and say, boy, maybe we should have homeschooled. But, you know, when you look back, you say you didn't realize that little by little by little, they were teaching stuff.
That's right.
And you thought you raised, you know, by raising your children, I say this is general, not for myself, but for everybody I've spoken to in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years, they'll say, well, we raised our family Catholic. We were in Catholic schools. We were, you know, we thought we did everything correctly. And yet they still were indoctrinated into this kind of thinking. So now we have a lot of 20 to 30-year-olds that think, you know, that you and I are just making all this up. It is not nearly that bad. Everybody said that about Obama. Everybody said that about someone else. And none of that came true. And we're still a wonderful country. So what do you say to that younger person that does believe in American pride, but they still think that we're systemically racist and all this other stuff?
Well, that systemically racism is part of that CRT, critical race theory. Do the research. It is something implemented by Mao during the revolution, General Mao in China. And except of using race, he used a class of people. And the intention of that is to divide and conquer. And if we were so racist, then, you know, why do we have people in Congress who are both Black Americans and have served as president and now a vice president and make millions of dollars in sports? And okay, so if we're such a racist country, what other country would they be able to do what they're doing? What other country? And that is not true. America, I am an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Cuba. What other country would allow me the opportunity to run for Congress?
So what do you say when they say that to you, Barbara? They say, even you're an immigrant, so why don't we just open up all the borders? I mean, why don't we let our immigrants in? Because we're a country of immigrants. What do you say to that?
No, I say my mother stood in line for 23 years to get her visa. So I absolutely abhor the thought that anyone would think that the border should be open for just anyone to walk in. And not just that, Lisa, we have men and women who died to protect our borders.
That's right.
So let us remember those heroes, those veterans who died to protect America, and let us fight for what they died for. If we have open borders, then we cease to be a nation. We cease to be a country. And that is wrong. Only people who want to destroy America would say that. It's just plain. Only those who hate America and want to take us down would say such a disgusting statement, because it's just false at its core, and it's not even worthy of being repeated. Honestly, we're giving them too much time. We need to just do what is right and understand that we are to fight and to repeat the things that they say. It's just.
Well, I had a dream the other day, and maybe we do this. We change their whole, you know, again, they're making up words, right? And they're putting meaning to those words that are ridiculous. I say we steal that word back of being woke, and what it means to be woke is to accept God's truth.
There you go.
As it is, and let's waken our Christian nation to what is really happening. Talk about being woke to that level, and let's get our children back and our millennials back.
To seek to represent America, and yet turn your back on the flag that you are seeking to represent is wrong. That's only common sense.
Right. And they try to say, oh, what it wasn't about that. But the point is, don't pick something so near and dear to our heart, right? Because if you're truly an American and you love our country, you don't go pick something that represents our entire country.
Exactly. You honor our flag.
Right.
You honor our anthem.
So even those that like to argue, well, they're not against the vets and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. None of that mattered to me. What mattered is, if there were one symbol that's important, as important to us as the 10 Commandments, is the flag. And you shouldn't have done any of that. Well, listen, we're going to take just a 45-second break here, and we'll come right back. And so if you need to get some water or anything. So again, this is Lisa Feeley with An Accountable Catholic. We'll be right back with Barbara Arthur. So don't go away.
Carolina Catholic Radio is excited to announce an alliance with Lisa Feeley, author of An Accountable American. Her new book offers a blueprint to every person who wants to embrace how to be accountable. Learn how positively to impact your life and the lives of anyone around you. 50% of the book profits will be donated to a local 501c3 Catholic charity, including Carolina Catholic Radio and those affiliated with us. 2020 was a tough year for many people. Consider donating to charity by buying a copy of An Accountable American, just $20 on our website. Achieving accountability is a great way to start the new year. If you want to learn how to achieve enlightenment, peace, and prosperity, this is a great start. Now back to An Accountable Catholic Radio Show.
Hi, it's Lisa again, and we are back with Barbara. So Barbara, boy, your story is just so perfect of America, right? I mean, tell us a little bit, if you can, without going into too much detail of what you're willing to share. So that must have been a terrifying ride at age 3, I think you said. I mean, how did you learn about what really happened to your family and why you came to America?
Well, that was when my dad, I remember the day that my mom dressed us, and the sadness in her eyes was just piercing. I still remember the sadness and didn't understand what was going on. And we went to the airport. And then my dad carried my little sister onto the airplane, and he held my hand and we went up. When we got on the airplane, I saw my aunt, my grandmother, and my cousin sitting at the front of the airplane. And my brother and my sister were somewhere, I don't remember. But I asked my dad, "Where's mom?" And he bent down to talk to me, but I saw something in his eyes and I knew. And Lisa, I ran off that airplane. I ran as fast as I possibly could. I didn't see my dad come from behind me, but he picked me up tightly under his arm, and through clenched teeth, he said, "You better stay still, girl, or they're going to keep us all here." He got me back on that airplane, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And that experience made me who I am today. I remember being at the immigration office in Miami, Florida, and just white knuckling that desk at the age of 5, just white knuckling that desk, because my life had been changed. My mom had been taken from us. And although I had a father who loved me fiercely, who loved us and protected us, just being taken away from my mom was devastating. And, I can't help but think of all those families that are coming over and those children who are being separated from their parents. I cannot help but think how devastated their lives are, how devastated. Those are human beings. Therefore, yes, they should not be coming over, but those children are innocent. They're being brought here by people, and it's just wrong to make money. And then there's a lot of them are separated from their parents. Will they ever get back together again? No, I'm not saying it is right. And I am definitely for sending illegal people back, deportation. Absolutely. Just, it is the law. That should be implemented. It should be done. But those little children, those lives matter, those little children. And
That's right.
Suffering. They're suffering. I actually was in Florida maybe 3 or 4 weeks back. And the lady who drove me from the airport to the hotel, she was telling me about the children that were coming down to Miami and how they had them in camp. And she said that she and her husband would help. And she said the sadness in their eyes. Right. And she said it was to the point where she can't go anymore. I begged her, I said, "Please don't stop, because they need you. Those kids need you." I know how they felt, because my life was devastated. And it is criminal. It's just criminal to do that. It's against the law to encourage people to break the law. It is against the law to come here illegally. So why is its administration encouraging them to come? Right. And Lisa, one thing I liken this current administration is to Castro in many ways, because Fidel Castro destroyed people's lives because he wanted power, for political power. This administration is destroying people's lives for political power. Right. And I just do not see much of a difference there.
What do you say to the people who grasp what you're saying and say, but that's exactly what we're talking about. We have to get these little kids into our country to take care of them. And my argument is, I'm Catholic all my life, and I feel sorry for them, and it's very sorrowful. But what we need to do is we need to not encourage. We need to be so fierce that I'm sorry, you are in the country you're in, and we need to use all the money, in my opinion, that we are wasting at the border trying to separate this and hire more people and do all the stuff to simply take care of those families at the border. We should be helping. If we're going to really help, then help give to the churches down in Mexico and Guatemala and Honduras and all these other places to help those families there. But we cannot change the world. We can one step at a time and with God's help, but we cannot. We've got to take care of our country and our current children and all the starving and hungry people and the crises we have in this country.
Totally. Totally. And a person who says, oh, we got to bring those children here to help them are monsters, because they can see what's happened to those kids being thrown from 14 feet walls, and little boys left out in the desert crying and screaming. That's just how many have died along the way. How many have been raped? How many have been sold into slavery? No, those children need to be kept in their country with their families. And I totally agree with you. If we really want to help them, then why don't we have some, help the churches, humanitarian type help? And I would further say, what we give to China, let's just give it to our neighbors.
That's right.
South.
I don't disagree. We have to take away those coyotes and the desire to make that kind of money. They're probably convincing. I mean, who knows what's really happening? They could be convincing those parents.
Oh, totally. That's exactly what's going on. What they're telling those parents is, look, because of video, when the presidential candidates were debating the Democrats, they all said, yes, we will give them free healthcare. And that is what they're showing, a lot of them. Yes, you will get free healthcare. And so they're doing whatever they can to come to America, not realizing.
Yeah, so they love their children just like your mom loved you.
Totally.
And let you go.
Yeah. Yes, but that was a different situation. We came legally.
Right.
After, it was through the President Lyndon Johnson's Freedom Act. Right. My father applied in 66, got his license or his visa in 69. My mom stood in line for 23 years to get her visa. She came in 93, by the way.
So what did she, I would love to hear her story too a little bit. What did she tell you later, Barbara, on what happened?
I'll tell you, because I asked her, I said, Mom, why would you allow the family to be separated like that? And tears streaming down her face, she said, Barbara, you had not eaten in 3 days. Okay. That is the reason. If we don't think that can happen here in America, I heard the governor from South Dakota, Kristi Noem, say that China supply. And it is very fragile. We have all experienced that not just too long ago with the COVID crisis that we had, and how the supermarkets, our food system is very fragile. So yes, that can definitely happen here. And that is why my mom permitted it. My mom and dad believed that she would join us quickly, that it would be just a matter of time, short time. But then the problems between America and Cuba, and she was not able to get out. So that is one of the reasons she stayed behind for such a long time, because we sought to do it legally.
Was she able to come visit you, I hope, in between?
Actually, after 19, 20 years, either 88 or 89, I was finally able to give her a 2-week visa to come as as a guest, as a tourist, for only 2 weeks, after it was either 19 or 20 years, 88 or 89. And the way I recognized my mother, Lisa, was that I had sent her a pair of shoes because I knew she needed shoes. And when I was at the airport, I was looking for the shoes.
Oh, I love it.
How I recognized my mom. I was looking for the shoes. There's my mom. And it was, that was really, it's really something. And I asked my dad throughout the years, Dad, why would you permit for our family to be separated like that? And he was exasperated twice. I remember asking him, and he's like, because we don't want you indoctrinated. And you see, that's what they're doing that here, though. They're indoctrinating our children with these lies. And one of the ways that we need to combat that, if you will, is the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is now, he just passed a bill to teach civics.
That's right. Right.
Must be taught. And that needs to happen in all 50 states. And, bravo to Governor DeSantis for doing that.
That's right. We need Governor McMaster to step up the game. I mean, we're Texas, South Carolina, Florida, we've been leading the way in a lot of stuff. So we need to do that as well.
Totally. Fearlessly.
Yes. Well, listen, I know our time, you and I could probably talk all day. Our time has come to an end. So what we'd love to do is just take the last minute here. Please, Barbara, share, how do people get to know more about you? How do people know where to find you? How can they give to you and support you? I know I am, you've already got me enlisted for sure to support you, because I absolutely believe, as a Catholic, what you're doing, you are the epitome of what we believe in America. So thank you, and God bless you. And please share with our listeners how they can learn more about you and what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Yes, they can go to my website, BarbaraArthur4FORSC.com. So that's BarbaraArthur4FORSC.com. And I would definitely appreciate your donations. I need it. I have a year ahead of me. There are a lot of candidates in this race. No one will fight against socialism, this communism in this country more than I will, because for me, it's personal, Lisa. And not only am I going to fight it in Congress, but I'm fighting it every single day while I campaign and I talk to American-born citizens, encouraging them to step up in the game, if you will, and get more active. City council, county council, school board. We need to fight. We need to fight.
And you are covering all kind of, you're one certain district, but you are going throughout the state. So if we hear about events throughout South Carolina?
Actually, no, I'm staying within my district. That's where I need to be. And it's 7 counties.
Okay. And so when will, I'm going to be a little ignorant. I'm going to be a little ignorant here because I'm new to the South Carolina area just from last year. Tell me when your election is. How does it work? And is there going to be a runoff, or how does that all work in your county?
Primary will be next June in 2022.
Okay, so June 2022 will be the primary.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll be against Tom Rice. And hopefully I won't have a runoff, but there's so many people in the race, there may be.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say there's several of you in the race. So then what happens if it gets close enough? Then they'll have one more runoff.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully there won't be. Hopefully I'll get 50 plus 1. I'm working very, very hard.
Very good. Well, that's fantastic.
What it takes. That's what it takes. But again, I need financial support. So absolutely.
Well, that's the thing that shocks many of us, to be very frank with you, Barbara. And I consider myself, I was involved in Reagan's campaign, Bill Graham's campaign. I've been doing this a long time myself, but I didn't realize to the level. I was talking to Jay Block out in New Mexico, and I didn't realize the amount of money that you guys have to raise to make this happen. He said his race, which I think is a governor's race, will take 10 million. This is crazy.
Insanity. Yeah. I'm called, Lisa, so I look to God to provide, but I know that I have to work very hard, and I do. Yeah. So, hard work cannot be ignored either. It'll help a lot.
Yeah, no, God is always there. To me, people say, oh, well, he'll provide. It's like, no, he also gave you the brains and the free will to do what we need to do as Christians. So, okay, well, listen, Barbara, God bless you. Thank you for fighting the good fight. And we'll have many of us behind you, my friend, from different parts of South Carolina.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Have a good day.
God bless. Take care.
You too now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.